Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. We have some Fire Emblem Heroes stuff to talk about today. And just a quick shout out, thanks to everybody who stopped by the stream yesterday. It was good times, it was good hangs. Did some Advanced Wars. Also got the Rhea follow-up. I'll have a supercut video coming to you soon for that, so if you missed it, don't worry. Anyway, we have a new Mythic banner coming up. But there's really not a whole lot left to be surprised by. So if you missed it for whatever reason, we did get a notification saying that NERTHUZ, I think that's how you say her name, the goat aunt of Freya and Freyr, I think that's right. I don't know, there were some translation issues early on, and I can't remember which is correct anymore. She would be showing up per the new FEH channel, as a mythic hero at the end of the month. And if you've been watching any of these or even the hero tracker videos that I do, you probably recall me saying at some point that April's mythic / legendary would likely be blue. And that's mainly because of who we had in the returning section, right? So we had Shez and we had Deirdre. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, it just so happens that NERTHUZ is a blue unit. At least the enemy version was when we had to face them throughout the story a couple chapters back. So probably would be blue based on the fact that the two newest options that still had some sort of opening within the 3 slots probably would be blue. That's typically what they do. And sometimes they have a full specter, right? And it's tough to tell, but this was not. This was a fairly easy dunk here for blue. Now, I also kind of thought that NERTHUZ might be at some point the mid-book, but that does not seem to be the case anymore. Again, as confirmed by the recent FEH channel. So what we have going on here is NERTHUZ is going to be in blue, and then red and green are open, with colorless already being filled in. So that's who we know is coming back with the NERTHUZ. That's who we knew was coming back. The upcoming is interesting. The upcoming is interesting. Okay, and this is where things get maybe a little more confusing to an extent. There's not a lot of green. Like at all. There's not a lot of green at all. There's a ton of red, there's a ton of blue, and there's like a normal-ish amount of colorless. Typically in previous years, before we had like over 1,000 total heroes in the game, usually you'd have, you know, upcoming options of anywhere from like 3 to 5. Okay, and now we're all the way up to like 6. There have even been 7 at one point. So there's a lot of imbalance for the color. That's why I'm going to go over a 2-month forecast after. So kind of touching briefly on May and June to help give you a bit of a better idea as to what's coming up. So we'll cover that at the very end. But these are the upcoming heroes displayed from left to right in order of appearance. Unless, of course, you have things like Chloe and Alfred who showed up at the same time. So just, you know. Green, however, yikes. Anyway, point is, more than likely, we'll be seeing a fill-in from red and a fill-in from green. Blue is already taken, colorless is already filled. So, what that means is for the prediction... if you want to call it that at this point, NERTHUZ shows up in blue alongside Shez and Deirdre. That is an absolutely insane pull pool, okay? If you are only going for like snipes, right? Blue is probably what you're sniping for. The second best option, in my opinion, would probably be green. There's a little bit of a trade-off there, okay? So we are going to have Gangloat, which is great. The rearmed axe is awesome. However, be advised, okay? we now know that we're getting multiple weapons of the same type under the arcane / rearmed banner. All right, so we are going to inevitably get a second axe, a third axe, a fourth, a fifth, however many. That will be arcane, okay? And we will have multiple axe rearmed heroes. Just because it's the best possible inheritable axe now doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best possible inheritable axe for every unit. Just tossing it out there. So if you are super strict about what it is you are inheriting, what it is you're pulling for, just be cautious that you will also have to contend against a Triandra. Triandra is not the best of the three, okay? Male Byleth still holds up incredibly well, and Ganglot is great. You got Quick Repose 4, I think you have Joint Distant Guard as well, and then obviously the Axe. So lots of good things on Ganglot. The same thing kind of goes for Red. Ascended Young Tiki is nuts, okay? And I think whenever the attack speed, or maybe speed res version of Scowl comes out, you're going to see her shoot up in usage, because everything, like the stackability of Scowl is kind of nuts. And I think Ascended Young Tiki is probably one of the better users of Scowl at this point. Fingers crossed that they put Scowl on Nagi's weapon when they inevitably refine her. Maybe next month, we'll see, who knows. But the point is that to get an Ascended Young Tiki, you'll have to compare with Mira and also Plumeria. While I am a Plumeria fan, of all of the mythic dancer fairies from book 4, I think Plumeria is the one that I use most frequently. This may very well be one of the last legendary mythic appearances that they make. So we could be looking at them getting added to the remix pool. Not necessarily being remixed, but added over to that remix pool as soon as after this banner, honestly. They could just not show up for another year, okay? And then, boom, they're into the remix pool, and they're suddenly on that banner instead. And I think they're actually due for a remix within the next, like, year or so. So it's a tough call. It's a tough call. It's a pretty tough call. There's a much more limited pool in remix, and, you know. So if you're trying to get them, do you just kind of wait? You know, it's been like 3 years already anyway. What's another year? It's tough to say. But, you know, after this, there may only be 1, 2 at most appearances where they're in the legendary mythic pool, and then they're bumped over to the remix. This may be the last one. It's tough to say. But point being, if you want Ascended Young Tiki, it's a tough call. It's a tough call. That's just how it is. And then also Colorless looks pretty solid. Ash, of course, is free. Claude has been around for a while. And then there's Arvel, who is pretty bonkers. So it's a little hit or miss there too. The only thing that's really kind of insane is the blue pool. Like, the blue pool is nuts for this next mythic banner. And there's also, I guess, technically the possibility of them adding a second mythic and like doing a surprise double mythic. I don't think that's the case this time around. I genuinely think they were a little bit light on FEH channel content, and they, you know, sometimes they like to show off a new banner or something like that. But if they hadn't, they really would only have Golden Week to talk about, and then also the new game mode. And they at least go in like groups of 3 to discuss stuff on FEH channels. So I think that's probably why they threw it in. I would just take it as a nice little courtesy for them, given all of the banners that we're going to see. There is a new Heroes Return that's likely going to be Ascended or even Rearmed focused as well at the end of the month. So I think this is just a nice way of them giving you a heads up. And maybe that's, you know, optimistic of me to think that way, but I like to think that they're just being kind and letting you know what's coming up, so that maybe you can budget a little better, or just spend your brains out. One of those two things. I don't know. But that is likely what we are looking at for the Mythic and Legendary banner this month. It is very hit or miss. It's very hit or miss, except for blue. Blue is insane. Everything else is a little hit or miss. Now, as far as that goes, we have the upcoming forecast. These are the next 2 months. Okay, we have the next 2 months. Here's what's kind of going down for the next 2 months. May. Green is completely full. Okay, which is great because we only have saline left in the green pool. If you can believe it, we have only had a new 5-star green normal hero since January. We've had a banner without any green representation at all, and then 2 more that had the 4-star being green. So we won't have to worry about that next month. That is when Robin is coming back, BT dub. So if you're waiting on Robin, you don't have to wait much longer. I don't really know who that means is gonna be. Maybe blue. We might have a new blue legendary. Could be colorless. I guess it could also be red, but probably not. There's a lot of red to fill in. I think I have an idea, given what we know now about the Hall of Forms stuff going on with Legendary Tiki showing up. We had an extra appearance of a remixed Mythic Legendary stuff happening in colorless. Next month should be Valentia. And it just so happens that we have 2 Valentian options. We have Ulm and we have Duma. Now, I'm not a gambling man. Ironic, I know. But given that we also have Julia making an unannounced appearance for the remixed stuff in June, and the order goes, you know, Heroes, Shadow Dragon, Valentia, Genealogy, I think it's fairly safe to say that either Ulm or Duma will likely show up in the next Hall of Forms. That's a little nutty. That's pretty nutty. And then we would have our normal 4 colorless options in that pool. And of course, remember, we're also getting remixed versions next time around. Okay. I know Edelgard here. Everybody's very excited about Edelgard. Leaf is also there. So Leaf is there too, but also Edelgard is there. So be weary of that. Just keep that in your lockdown brain over here. And then in June, again, there's not a whole lot to talk about other than the fact that both Yuri and Veronica, 2 very popular options for Legendary Heroes, are making a reappearance in June alongside Lilina, who also does hold up pretty well. Colorless is kind of nuts with both Asker and Fomortis, so that's fun. Green is a bit of a sleep, and so is blue at the moment. But for what it's worth, I really do like Uller. I use Uller a fair amount in late season, but you know, that's just me. And then also Julia, probably hitting Hall of Forms there. So I will cover more when it comes to the hero tracker. I'll have that up the day the banner comes out, so you'll know who's coming back when alongside whomst at that moment. And then we'll also talk a little bit more about the Hall of Form stuff for remix heroes and things like that as well. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a little bit of a better idea. I know this one went a little bit longer than it normally does, but I want to talk about May and June as well to give you a slightly better heads up as to what's coming on. But that's it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Be sure to leave a like if this helped you out. And until then, I will see you in the next one.